Hey there, Lisa here. Welcome to my channel. I hope you'll join me in my love of crafting and DIYs and hit that subscribe button. I'm excited for today's video. It is part of the 5 under $5 challenge, which I have not been able to participate in for a couple of months. It is hosted each month by Missi at the Crafty Cove and by Emily at Farm Charm Chic. And each month there is a guest host. And this month's guest host is Christine at the DIY Craftaholic. Their channels, as well as the playlist, will be linked in the description box. Be sure to take a peek. All right, for this one, we are going to attempt a much more budget-friendly candle holder set. So you will need 3 foam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, 3 battery candles, a razor knife, Mod Podge, paint, gloss clear coat, and brushes. If you have a hot knife, you can skip the Mod Podge, and you could skip the clear coat if you have high gloss paint. So we're looking at $5.75 for this project, but you get 3. Okay, so the first thing I did was dismantle these guys. So we are going to take off the top, and then I'm going to trim around my battery operated candle. These are foam, so you cannot use real tea light candles in them. They will melt. And then I took my razor knife and cut this out. Now, if you had a hot knife or something, this would be much easier and much less messy. And be careful when you're doing this because you will get the bottom stem and it's kind of pokey. I'm going to push it out here and show you. See, the end is really jagged. So be sure to be careful when you're doing that. And so just keep cutting until you can get the candle to fit down inside, and we're going to repeat this process for all 3. And then once I had them done, I went through and did a coat of white, and I actually ended up doing 2 coats of white. So here I am pouring Mod Podge in, and this was my solution because the styrofoam just kept balling and falling out, and I didn't want that to be an issue. So I took a good thick coat of Mod Podge and basically just like globbed it in there so that it would keep the foam from doing that. And these took a really, really long time to dry. So be sure to give yourself time. And so then here I am doing a second coat of white. I just want to make sure to get that orange covered up so that we can then change the colors. And then it was time to paint. So I used this cream that I had picked up at Target for 50 cents. Again, if you ever need paint colors, be sure to message me. I'm just really bad about putting them in the description box. And then I had to mix an orange, and the first time around it is way too light. I was doing it from memory, and then somehow I was thinking mint green and it was a mossy green. So again, these colors are wrong. So now I'm going back over and I had this mossy color. It's actually a chalk paint, which I'm then going to gloss, so it's okay. But the color was right, and then I just made my peach a little bit more orange, and I got those painted, and I did a good 3 coats of paint on these. And then once they had dried, I took them outside and sprayed them with this glossy clear coat. Stay to the end to see them all lit up. All right, so this one is so easy, but I really like the way it turned out. It's such an easy way to get that black chalk look. So for this one, you will need a ceramic pumpkin from the Dollar Tree. I went ahead and picked up the one with the leaf indentations because I liked it, but you can get the smooth ones. Chalkboard paint, painter's tape, and then a brush. All right, so I liked the gold stem the way it was, so I just went ahead and used some painter's tape and covered it up, and then I took black chalkboard paint because I don't have black chalk paint, and started painting. I did give this 2 really, really good coats and then a few touch-up spots on a 3rd coat. And then I removed the tape, and I left the tape on way too long, and there was a couple of spots that lifted up just a pinch, but they're not super noticeable. You know the drill. Stay to the end to see it all done. Our only not fall related dupe, and I've been trying to make things that I want around the house, and I wanted a little chalkboard and a little pin board for my desk and a little dry erase for my daughter, so this worked out good. So the first thing I picked up was 3 hexagon mirrors from the Dollar Tree. They do make them in frames as well. Adhesive cork, a canvas, white poster board, foam board, laminate sheet, chalkboard paint, brush, razor knife, and scissors. Now there are many different ways that you could do this, but these are the ways that I do. I can kind of give you some ideas as we go through some other ideas that I had to make this happen. All right, so first we're going to dismantle our mirrors, and I have seen these in frames, and so if you do that, you know, same difference. You're just going to dismantle them, set the glass aside. And then for the cook board one, I went ahead and put some foam board behind it, and all I was left with were these little pieces. So I cut 2 and then taped them together so that they would fit. And this is just so that when you put the tack in, it doesn't go through the back as bad. And so yeah, here I am just taping them together with some packaging tape. And then I just trimmed up the edges and made sure that it was going to fit. And then just trimmed down any that was in excess. And then we're going to put it in our frame. And then I took this adhesive cork from the Dollar Tree and just trimmed around with my X-Acto knife to the size of the frame. And then made sure it was going to fit. And then we're going to take the adhesive backing or the backing off and stick it to our piece of foam board. And then we're going to put it in the frame. And it was a little bit hard. You really had to shove it in there because it's much thicker. But I wanted it this way so that the tack doesn't go completely through and it just sticks a little better. If you pushed it straight in, you would feel a little prick on the back. But where I'm going to have it hanging, that shouldn't be bad. But it's much better than it would have been had we not put the foam board behind the cork. But like I said, it was kind of hard to get the pegs on. This was probably as thick as you could go. And then for the chalkboard one, I had this canvas. So I just cut it apart. My initial plan was just to do the chalkboard paint on the cardboard, but it's got the things in it for the hanger. So I decided just to use a piece of canvas. I thought I might kind of like that texture. You could use cardboard or anything you have lying around though, if you don't want to make a special purchase of the canvas. And so then I cut it out to size and then I glued it to the cardboard. So again, if you were using just another piece of cardboard, same process, you would just glue it down. I just used school glue. And basically on the edges where it was a little bit over the edge of the canvas, I needed to get the most down. And then I just used the chalkboard paint from the Dollar Tree and gave it a good coat. And I don't know, there's just something about painting canvas I really like. I wish I was a better painter, like, you know, picture painter. I think I would really enjoy painting on canvas. But I did 2 good coats and then it was time to assemble it. And we just put it in the frame, put the little peg things back down, and that is it for this one. All right, for the dry erase one, I'm going to use some of these laminating sheets. I don't have a laminator, so I just buy these sheets. And these ones are actually really good and nice and thick. Some that I've used that you buy are not, but this is a good one. So then I just cut it out to size, and then I took a piece of poster board. So basically, we're faking a whiteboard here. You could use whiteboard paint. You could use whiteboard vinyl. The other idea I had was if you don't have laminating sheets, if you picked up a frame instead of a mirror, you could just use poster board and the glass. Dry erase will work on the glass. But this is the way I did it. And so then I just adhered my laminate sheet to the poster board and then trimmed it down to size and then put it back in the frame. And that is it. These were actually really simple projects. So stay to the end to see them up close. All right, let's attempt a dupe of this Amazon Decor using only things that can be recycled. First up on the list is a cardboard tube. You could use toilet paper roll, paper towel roll, saran wrap roll. The thing that ended up being the closest in size for me was this vinyl roll. You will need a sponge brush handle, twine, razor knife and scissors, paint, antique wax, brushes, eraser, hot glue gun, and super glue. The twine I used was hangers off of other Dollar Tree products. projects. And the sponge brush handle was off a sponge that got ruined, so I really was using everything recyclable. You could also use watered down brown paint if you do not have antique wax. The first step was taking the cardboard tube and cutting it to size. I used the size of the actuals for reference, and then I went around and cut this with a razor knife. Now, in hindsight, I would say use 3 different tubes so that you can keep the bottom portion, one of the pre-cut ones, so that it's nice and flat, or use a larger tool so that you can saw through it all at once. I had a heck of a time getting my bottoms flat, and they also, you can kind of tell that they're not flush. So then once I had them all cut to size, I need to cut ends. I did not end up doing one on the bottom because my bottoms were so jagged. But I get all 3 cut and then all 3 tops cut, and then I take some super glue and just glue the top on. And again, you could do them on both ends, especially if you take my advice and get it cut really flush. And see, here I am trying to even that bottom part out, and I didn't quite get it, but I got it good enough. And so then once they had set up, I took and trimmed around the edges so that they were nice and flush. And then I gave them all paint. We do an orange, a brown, and then a white. And I just used acrylic paints for these. At the tops, I kind of filled in if there were any gaps with the paint. You could also use caulk. But the paint worked just fine, and so I would fill in those top pieces and then do a second coat, and I ended up doing 3 coats on these guys. And then I took my sponge brush handle and it had paint all over it, so I'm just taking a fingernail file and sanding off the paint because I want to stain this. First, I take and cut them to size, and I just eyeballed it and did 3 about the same size. Then I did sand down the ends so that they were a little bit more flush because I don't cut real straight. And then I used antique wax to give it that dark wood look. You could also use watered down brown paint or actual stain. And then it was time to apply the dots, and this was actually really fun. So this is an eraser off a mechanical pencil, and it just seemed to be the right size, so I used it to make my dots. So I just took it off the pencil, dipped it in the paint, and then went around and did the dots. And I just sort of eyeballed it. I probably would have done more dots, but since this is a dupe, we try to make it look as much like theirs as we can. So like I said, this was actually the really fun part. And then I took these twine pieces off some signs from the Dollar Tree that I had done something different with, and just tied little bows out of them, made the 3 bows as close to the same as I could, and trimming up the bottoms. And then I took and hot glued on the stems to the top. And you could use super glue here again as well. And then lastly, I went and glued a bow to each one, and that is it. All right, stay tuned for the big reveal at the end. Okay, so this is probably my least similar dupe. This is a Hobby Lobby dupe, and it's my own fault because I did not pay attention to the size or anything. I just glanced at it and was like, I can do that with one of those little trays from the Dollar Tree. So that's the first thing I picked up, was a wood tray from the Dollar Tree. And then you'll want wording. I end up using my Cricut, but you could use stencils or stickers or hand do it. And then paint and a brush. So the first thing I did was paint it. So again, glancing, I thought it was white. It's actually a cream. So I paint it white. And then I go back and paint it again this cream color. And then I took a fingernail file where I had gotten paint on the top edge and just sanded it off. This was a really rough one. I probably should have sanded it before, but after I painted it, I did give it a light sanding just to smooth the surface out just a little bit. And then I made these up on the Cricut. I just did the font that was free that I thought looked similar. And again, this ends up being a much smaller, different shaped tray. So I'm just going with it. And I went ahead and did a thankful on one side, and then I did grateful on the other. And I'll show you it at the end. All right, so here we go. Let's see how I did. So on this one, there's our wood, mine are cardboard. Theirs are $14 and mine ended up being $3.90 free, which is a much better price. These are what I would consider 10 footers. They look great from 10 feet away. Okay, for this one, theirs is 80 and mine comes in at just under 10, depending on what you needed to buy. I end up doing it for about $5.75. And for the pumpkin, theirs is $10.39 on sale, and mine ends up being $1.25. It looks kind of shiny here. It's just the reflection off the window. It is pretty matte. My tray that is even close to the right size, theirs is $12 and mine was $1.25. And you will notice that it is darker on the inside. When it was white, it looked like wood on the inside, but when I got that cream color up there, they blended too much. So I did use some antique wax and a baby wipe to darken the inside. And finally, we have my fake ceramic candle holders. And these turned out really fun. Unfortunately, my color matching skills were not real great and the colors don't match up real well, but I still think that these are really fun. They'd be super cute on a table for the holidays. Okay, I gotta know, which is your favorite? How did I do? Should I give up duping? Are they close? Okay, what do you think? I want to hear all your thoughts, so drop them in the comments below. And thanks for taking the time to stop in today. If you like what you see today, I would love it if you help me grow my channel. The way you can do that is by liking, commenting, and subscribing and sharing with your friends. I am also on other forms of social media, Instagram, Facebook. I do have a blog that's horribly neglected, Pinterest, as well as TikTok. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video today. I hope you enjoy the playlist, and I hope that you will subscribe.